Ladies and gentlemen, first meeting us.
Last summer, I was asked to cover the Night of the Rising Sun's boxing event that was aired on Showtime. Showtime brought a small army to Manistee, Michigan for this live broadcast. Talent, audio techs, camera operators, directors, gaffers, producers, jib operators, casting operators. There is a meticulous nature to video and film, and one of its drawbacks is that it takes a whole gob of skilled people to pull it off. But we see video everywhere, and it's hard not to take it for granted. When Showtime left in the morning, it was back to the Jingdamuk to run the audio and gather footage of different styles of dance. I even weaseled my way onto an airplane to get aerial footage of this powwow. On Monday, I was up to Gaylord to talk to Jack Chambers about medicines.
You can even get this in the winter. It stays good.
No, we don't have an army here, just one guy, and sometimes I get some help. It's not Showtime, but sometimes it has its perks. I started working here in the MIS department, working with every department fixing their computers. I discovered a diverse range of things the tribe does and the variety of passionate people that bring our intentions to fruition. We have healthcare professionals, biologists, law enforcement officers, a language teacher, accountants, lawyers, education workers, case aides, counselors, education workers, case aides. A whole gob of folks doing what they are passionate about for the sake of the tribe. Although opinions vary about our collective actions, this is what we do. And this is where we are. The program report videos I produce for the membership twice a year shows membership what we do for them.
I am calling because I have heard about your Indian preference, and I wish to have employment, and I am Indian.
It's my job to make it entertaining. If it isn't, then the audience will tune out.
What? You do not prefer Indians?
And no one will hear the messages we're trying to tell them.
Mr. McCurgy, are you a member of the Little River Band of Ottawa, Indiana?
No, but I do like your recording of reminiscing. I think it is very pleasing to the ear.
It has become something uniquely tuned to our culture. This is our logo, our inside jokes,
What about some fancy doors you got there? Now I know where my pre-cap is going.
our common ground. But most of all, it's our people. Within 2 generations, we have gone from being the most destitute segment of the population to being the largest employer in the area. But during this transition, we are losing our language and our traditions. Members are scattered all over the country, which is a real challenge when it comes to preserving what we still have. 5 years ago, Kenny Pheasant started working on the Anishinaabe-Moan CD-ROM. We recorded hundreds of Anishinaabe-Moan words and phrases with the proper inflection and levels. It's not just a matter of pushing a button. I had to examine the levels, the context, and the performance. You expect certain things when you listen to a recording. You expect S's not to be too sibilant, P's not to pop. You expect minimal signal noise. You might be recording the secret meaning of life, but if you don't negotiate these and other pitfalls, it'll be too distracting and people won't hear the message. I also wrote, produced, and directed a skit in the language.
Jennifer Lopez in casa.
In the Elders Project, we have recruited several elders to demonstrate some of the old ways that we are losing. I want this to be more of an educational tool. It will not only show people the medicines, quill work, and drum making, it will do so in Anishinaabe-Moan. There are multimedia tools out there and second language acquisition that are proving more effective than previous approaches. We have experimented with subtitles before, but since the grammatical structures don't match up, it's not very effective for learning the language. I want to experiment with repetition, graphics, and animations to visually convey the thought that's being articulated, much like what Kenny does in his classes through pantomime and visual aids. Jack Chambers imparted the sacred concept of water. The random and chaotic way it moves is life in our culture. I took this teaching and incorporated it into my graphical themes. It's subtle, and sometimes I think I underplay all these subtextual meanings. This is how I see who we are. Being Indian is very nuanced. It's not blatant. So I keep it subtle while using the reality of our non-native influences too. I was discussing the idea of a basket making class with John Kuhn. My idea was to hold annual classes, and through time people would get better and make better baskets. His approach was that people would make a perfect basket from the get-go. If you make a mistake, undo it, then do it right. There's no reason the basket shouldn't be perfect. The more perfect baskets you make, the more proficient you become, not the other way around. This made me think about my craft and how I conceal the flaws.
We have now a audio-visual production technician. Audio-visual production technician.
Through my education at Specs Howard and CMU, I was taught to always flatter your subject. When they look like a hack, it makes you look like a hack. When you do it right, and your subject looks good, it don't make you look like such a hack. It's kind of a thankless job because all the hard work is whittling away the bad stuff.
Program for college students and for 11th, 12th graders.
If done correctly, no one will notice. It also made me think of my perfectionist nature and how much of it is pride that's been imprinted on me through being native. This is a recurrent theme about all the things that we create. I joke about my Anishinaabemowin vocabulary being all negative. One word that comes to mind is dabnock, which means half-staff or done sloppy like you don't care. Despite deadlines and other limitations, I'm always shooting to make that perfect basket. With this thought, I designed a logo that features hands, which symbolize our resourceful creativity. The string around the fingers reminds us not to forget. Each hand, from their respective directions, are pointing to the next stage of life, until you get to the northern hand, which is pointing forward and to the youth. The meaning behind this is we need to relentlessly move forward without forgetting where we came from. In the meantime, I'm ramping up with 2 simultaneous productions, the program report and a non-impact exercise video aimed at members who have lost their mobility. The latter project was spearheaded by Holly Davis, our diabetes educator. The video is called Majida, Let's Move. The demonstrators are all native and they will all be exercising to hand drum music. We're incorporating Anishinaabemowin numbers and some vocabulary as well. I made the Anishinaabemowin word Majida into a baseball team logo with connotations of spring. It's a defiance of sorts. It's rejecting the trappings of growing old. There's no reason we can't be wise and vital, in our twilight, but not without hope. These things aren't mutually exclusive in our culture.
I try to walk a mile a day. It all depends on the weather. Yeah, I do a lot of bike riding in the summer. Yeah, I do a lot of bike riding. When I don't walk, my sugar does go up.
Oh, it does go up?
Yeah, and I try to go out to like the grocery store or to the Walmart or something and walk around there.
I walk.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I see you walking all over.
Yeah, it's you have to get out there. You have to learn to eat, and you have to get out and exercise.
Most of it is done through walking, yeah. Climbing stairs. I said for these elderly gentlemen, I said, don't give up that habit of chasing young women. I mean, it'd be like an old dog chasing a truck. You don't know what to do with them after you catch them.
The Little River Band of Ottawa Indians is not a tribal government. It's not a government operations. It's not personnel.
Somebody's wearing my coat.
He's got a coat like that.
It's not elected officials. It's not a logo or a flag or even a federal law. The Little River Band of Ottawa Indians is a group of a few thousand Anishinaabeg who are all different yet very similar. There's a nuanced common bond here that defies photographs and the written word. There's an intangible feeling and perspective that makes us different. I don't believe the who we are has always been this elusive, and perhaps we're just too close to the other trees to realize we are a forest. I regret not learning more Anishinaabemowin from my grandfather, who didn't speak much English. As a kid, I didn't think about it. That's part of me, and that's part of all of us somewhere back there. There's a multitude of these gifts I've been given. I call them gifts because they give me perspective. Perhaps it's not obvious, and perhaps I'm too subtle. However, I've made a conscious decision to harness my literary, photographic, and artistic talents into one creative outlet, and bring it back to where I came from. This isn't raw talent. I've made a commitment to learn the skills and technical know-how to do these things that I do for the tribe. Our culture is all around us. When the elders play bingo at the community center, when there's a ceremony, or when there's a group of us at the Willows, or when we go to the Jinktamuk and then to a boxing match. I really felt fortunate that week to chronicle the confluence of the past and present taking shape right before my eyes. It's hard not to take these things for granted. We're going a few thousand different directions all at once, yet headed to the same place, but there's no contradiction.